stop. I get out to boogity bang bang, boog to boogity beat. Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends gonna try to move your feet. See, I am Wonder Mac and I like to say hello. To black, to white, the red and the brown, the purple and yellow. But first, gotta bang bang, the boog to boog, say I jump to boog to the bang bang, boog, let's rock. You don't stop, like love, now make your body rock. First I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
Fantastic. So, you got to understand this. K-Rock, Kids at Rock, is not a program. It's a movement of people. We have K-Rock leaders that have a vision of bringing the world together, have a vision of communicating the love of God. And these kids are unbelievable, aren't they? What they get out, and you're coming back, right? Coming back in a few minutes? All right, we'll see you in a minute. Get out of here, go. The best is yet to come. This is so good. So I'm Steve Andrews. I'm thrilled that you're here, that you've honored us with your presence. I know some of you are grandparents. Many of you are friends that have come to see the show. And they're getting ready to tell, in the next few minutes, one of the best stories that Jesus ever told. And I'm really excited in a kind of a fun, creative way. But before we do that, I just want to remind you, if you're visiting with us and you'd like to know more about Kensington, we're so glad you're here. We'd love for you to connect more. There's so many opportunities. We've got two K-Rock summer camps that are happening for kids, one at Orion, one at Troy in consecutive weeks. It's going to be really powerful. So I'd love to have you to meet you at the starting point. Sign out in the lobby afterwards. We can answer any questions you might have. Also, I wanted to celebrate last weekend. We had our serving day all across Detroit. We had about 1,000 people from all of our Kensington campuses serving at local schools in all kinds of different regions, a lot of outside work. And it just was one of those, I heard so many great reports from all 8 of our campuses of work that was being done. So thank you. And I love it when we step out. And I want you to know something. When we do these serving days, sometimes it's just one day, but actually our school partnerships, where we have 3 schools that are connected in now with our 6 campuses at K-Rock, that all happened just beginning by having serving connections and people's dreams kind of being awakened. Now, because the elementary kids are here today and because we really would like for you to mark your calendars for June 22nd for the Clinton Township groundbreaking, I wanted to take 3 minutes out of the service just to, again, remind you of what's happening with the Everyone campaign that we started last year. Enjoy this because there's some exciting things happening. Take a look. So a little over a year ago, there were conversations popping up between me and just a lot of really good friends inside and outside Kensington. And the conversation was about how do we have a greater impact in the world? And so as we were talking about this, something really evolved that became what some of you know as Everyone, the Everyone Capital Campaign, a 3-year campaign to give above and beyond your regular giving, to make a movement grow where Jesus will be reaching the world. So thanks to your precious giving, we've already seen amazing things happening in the past year. Like in Traverse City, 2 great churches, Kensington and Bay Point, came together to collaborate and join together to be one church, better together. And over the last year, we have had a chance to invest in tremendous renovations and upgrades. It's really exciting. I want to encourage all of you to take a vacation, go up there. Also the San Francisco area with Clint and Michael Dupin. I never dreamed that we'd be launching a church in San Francisco, but we have one of our greatest families and people are joining them. And then, who would have ever guessed that we would be in the wildest part of planet Earth, the mountains of Afghanistan, a place where none of us will ever even be able to visit, but we're supporting a beautiful church planting movement that goes house to house and village to village under unimaginable danger. And then back home, we're impacting local schools through our Kids That Rock, our K-Rock arts program, involving hundreds of students, giving kids that are in schools that have no arts program a chance not only to learn the arts of all sorts, but to be touched by Jesus Christ and by our great leaders. We've also invested in the weekend experience at all 8 of our Kensington campuses, things like welcome signage in all of our lobbies, our brand new Kensington app where folks can connect online. Thousands of people have downloaded and are using. It's changed the way we can sign up for groups and events. And then a roof for Orion. I mean, it's not too sexy, but there are some things that you just have to have. And wow, things are happening in Clinton Township. Site prep is well underway for our biggest project, a brand new building that will serve as a hub campus on the east side. It's going to be a launch pad for campuses just like the ones that have sprung out of our hubs in Troy and Orion. And I'm really hoping you can make the official groundbreaking June 22nd. Everyone is invited. We're going to invade that property and dream dreams with God. I want to extend my deepest thanks to all of you who took part in this Everyone campaign. And yes, 1 year into it, I want to remind all of you to fulfill your pledge like I'm doing so we can complete this important work. It's been 27 years since God started a tiny movement called Kensington in a middle school auditorium. We didn't know if we'd last 3 months, and we certainly never imagined the impact that God would allow us to have all these years later in Michigan, Florida, Utah, California, New York, and around the world. Last week, I watched one of my favorite movies. It was the year before we started Kensington, Field of Dreams. And one line in that movie changed my life.
Go the distance.
Those words became a reality for me and for our team. All these years later, a lifetime of being surrounded by great people, not afraid to go the distance. People willing to sacrifice their comfort in order to be radically generous towards something much bigger and much more lasting. I'm humbled by you and grateful to you for listening and responding to God's call in your life. And in the process, bringing Jesus' message of forgiveness, hope, and love to everyone. Good. Very exciting. Thank you. So, even if you're new to Kensington, this June 22nd, groundbreaking is going to be a blast. We really would love for you to be a part of it. And I do want to thank people. When I look back at these years of people going the distance, I'm surrounded like this guy, just great people after great people. And it's so fun to be a part of that journey of where we get to extend our heart in love to people in the name of Jesus. And it's pretty beautiful. I've got with me right now, Matt Wright, who teaches our elementary kids. This guy is
I told you to stay in the car.
Yeah, this guy is a ninja warrior, seriously, and he's my hero. But I tell you, the impact of Matt's life, and up there with Deb Weathers and Michelle McCoy, all of our teachers in K-Rock have been bringing Jesus to kids for these years. There's no way to measure the impact, and a lot of these kids that are on the stage today have been influenced by him. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of weekends that especially when I'm speaking here, where the message over there is a lot better. So
you're right.
All right,
it doesn't happen often, so I got to give it
go
to
ahead.
you.
Yeah. So what do you got for us?
The real reason I'm here is because even though it doesn't feel like it outside, summer is right around the corner.
Not true.
That's what I've been told. It's coming. And in K-Kids, in our weekend kids program that we have during every service, starting June 17th, we're starting our Stand in the Gap volunteer program. Because as we all know, when summer hits, we cram in 12 months of living, 12 months of fun into those 3 months before the weather turns again, and then we all hide in our houses. So we want to give our volunteers a chance to take those vacations, go up north, relax, recharge, and then come back in the fall ready to serve for another great ministry season. So we need great people like you to help stand in the gap for them. So what we're asking is hopefully everybody's gotten one of these cards when you walked in this morning. We want you to take a couple minutes during service, just fill it out real quick.
Where should they, is there a moment in the service?
The first time Steve tells a bad joke, instead of giving him the pity laughter, fill out your card. You can do that.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
You like that?
Not really.
Anyway, so fill out the card, mark out a couple dates or months where you might be interested to serve. Somebody from our team will get in touch with you this week. We'll iron down an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 4. Steve, I'm going to mark you down for 4.
You're good. I'm good for 2.
So we're going to go 4.
Okay, go 4.
And put it in the offering basket when it comes by. Okay. We'll be in touch with you. We look forward to working with you this summer.
Matt Wright, great leader, man. Thank you. Our team working with our students from birth to college, we really got an incredible team of people. So thankful for them. I want to just celebrate this too. Ramesh Subkota, who's our partner in Nepal, right now with Nicole Wilson, whose daughter has the lead in the what you're getting ready to see now. And along with Steve Norman and Don Anderson are wrapping up a training that they've been doing in Nepal. We were hearing phenomenal results from there. Nancy Worm, our campus director, is leading a team in the West Bank in Palestine with Palestinian women, with our women. They're having a transformative experience. And then this is really, really fun. You talk about Kensington people through Jesus transforming and mobilizing like K-Rock. Friday night at the Detroit Music Awards, Danny Cox won the award for Christian Gospel Artist of the Year in Detroit. How cool is that? My coaching finally paid off. I really got him going on musically, so it's great. So listen, right before the kids are back up, stand up, squeeze in a little bit for latecomers, say hi to some people around you.
Of an audition spot for a gig again. But Providence, does this make sense? Are you following? Waiting season is every artist a calling. Let's get started. We need to book this thing alright. Who can rock harder, or be a top shotter, or dazzle a showstopper? Grind your tay a bit farther. At this point, a do is bound to be started. That brings us to today, and nothing much has changed our story. Greets of people who don't agree on the refrain. The rock and rollers began to rumble, riff and solos no restraint. And the reverb, it was strange when it got to a Broadway band.
Well, the chorus and the herders and this melody's arrangement. A do-off every dance and it's good up every stage. And the Stratocaster started and the ballad seems strange. And the score would never be the same. It's gotta change, man. A brand new pattern, even bad. A lead role I have never had. All the Lion King's a bit bizarre. I'll travel far, I'll travel far.
When she was ready, that was it. Tick tock tick, no more sitting. She music marked to the 16 bars. She was acting character, shoes were packed, leotard was fitting.
She would never know the way the plot had thickened. Started on the road, it was her father, see no end inside. Left her with nothing but ruined pride. The lead role inside, a voice saying, come on, keep your eyes to the sky. Bandits lying in secret and plotting danger on our guy.
There would be nothing left to do for someone less to suit. She couldn't set it to the right, highly hit in 1 and 2. Started twirling, falling, odds were stacked against her badly. This audition was out of sight. A bruise up, she could barely breathe. The bandits had taken everything they get their hands on. Left without a future, only broken legs to stand on. Seen, tasting grim, it was left without an end. In need of a good brother or friend.
In need of a good brother or friend. In need of a good brother or friend. In need of a good brother or friend. In need of a good brother or friend.
These footsteps coming toward her now. See if you can spot them. A perfect rescue. Oh, thank God she's not forgotten. Her enemies destroy her, but our true friends surely spot her.
Will someone give me? I have to live.
Me, I stepped over her.
The priest, he circled her.
And me, I don't wear glitter, but I got her.
This rock and roller didn't need the help, but just you wait.
Are you okay, man?
In need of a friend.
Hamilton, Burr, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, rock and roll, show tunes. There are some things in this world that are just never going to get along. Opposites, rivals, enemies. Or are they?
Here, we have the rock and rollers from the Cliffs of Riffs, overlooking the showstoppers from Broadway Bay. Anytime these two groups met one another, things would escalate quickly. The jazz hands and hair bands would fly. And at times, these duels could get, well, explosive.
Auditions will be starting in 10 minutes. Have your resumes and headshots ready.
I say, look here, fellas. Do you see what I see?
Well, if it isn't some of those Broadway bozos. Check it, gang.
And,
Ready and 5, 6, 7, 8.
I must be mistaken, but it seems as though you're waiting here to audition.
Yeah, so what if we are? We're as good as a band as any, right, guys?
Oh, please. You can't even step, touch, and sing.
You guys don't stand a chance.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise playing in the streets. Gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace. Kicking your can all over the place, singing. We will rock you. We will rock you.
There's no business like show.
This was an all too common occurrence. It seemed the two groups found more and more to fight over, and any similarities they might have shared were lost in between the pyrotechnics and seamless choreography of their duels. It may have stayed that way forever had not fate stepped in to lend a hand. One day, a showstopper was crossing town for the audition of a lifetime, the lead role in The Lion King. And not the ones you all know, where there's a story of how a lion escapes the zoo and is accidentally crowned the King of England. It's just marvelous. You should see the costumes. Anyways, he was heading to the audition when out of nowhere, disaster struck. Hoping someone would come along. In her delirium, she heard the sound of footsteps.
That's Andrew Lloyd Webber. Mr. Webber! Mr. Webber! Help, please! Help me make the music of the... Nuts.
Time passed, and no one came by. Until...
Ew.
But the pastor was no help. Finally, after hours of waiting on the side of the road, she began to hear voices in the distance.
Help! Please! Help!
But as they drew closer, the sound of squeaking leather jackets was unmistakable.
Oh, great. Well, might as well get comfortable.
So I was like, I don't know, man. Can you play a riff of that? Whoa. Ha! Check it, guys. Looks like a showstopper lost her sparkles.
Ha, very funny. You should take it on the road.
Hey, gang, I think this dude is hurt.
And what was your first clue?
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing at all.
Listen, buddy, if you think...
It's okay, Ivy. I'll take care of this.
You sure?
Sure, I'm sure. It's just one scrawny showstopper. You guys go ahead. I'll catch up.
Well, all right, if you're sure. You'll meet us up. We're rehearsing my mom's basement today.
I'll be there.
Oh, and don't be late. My mom's making smoothies.
Smoothies.
Smoothies. Ha!
All right, Ivy.
Line!
Huh?
I'm calling for my line! Look here, friend. I don't know what to do. And I need my line!
Well, these papers seemed important to you, so I was just picking them up.
What I'm trying to say here is we are enemies. Why are you helping me?
Well, I never really understood all that. I mean, I know rock and roll and show tunes are a little different.
A little?
Okay, a lot different, but they're both music.
I have literally never thought of that before.
Yeah, they're both music, and they're both into big, flashy, kind of exaggerated shows. I mean, have you ever seen a Queen concert?
A Who concert?
No, not the Who, Queen.
Queen who?
We're getting off topic. What I'm trying to say is I think we have more in common than we think. Okay, let's get you to a hospital.
You're going to help me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal or anything.
That, my dear friend, is where you are very wrong. It is a big deal. At least, it is to me. If I hurry, I can still make my audition.
I thought you were hurt.
Oh, no. Just dramatic emphasis. There. Hand me my blood and give me your shoulder to lean on. That should satisfy the muse.
Your blood, huh?
One must always be prepared for all eventualities, even bandits.
Right.
This is kind of nice. All right, man, let's get it rocking and rolling here.
What are you doing?
You know, acting.
Right.
Ooh, maybe I should try headbanging. Too far, but too far. Fine.
Wow. Come on, they're pretty dynamic, wouldn't you say? It's really something else. And so I got to tell you, they've been doing shows all week. Our different campuses. This is really something spectacular. And I got to tell you, if you are new to the Bible, you're wondering, so what story was this? Who knows what this story was called? The Good Samaritan. This is the story that Jesus tells. If you're going to pick 4 or 5 stories, they're all hugely important, but there are 4 or 5 that have changed the world since these stories were shared. They are revolutionary. It's almost impossible to describe how revolutionary this story is, even though we made it with rock and rollers and showstoppers, which was really good, by the way. I've been watching this for a lot. It's really fun and it stays fun. But I thought the reality of this is that Jesus invites us to a new way to live. When he introduces this in the Gospels, people have never really written or thought about this. We take it for granted in our culture, say we should love people, we should be kind, care about people, love people like we love ourselves or as God loves us. Guys, this really became clear through Jesus. Everyone here can relate to being uncomfortable, being alone or afraid. Every elementary kid in here knows what it's like to step into school and, boy, not know necessarily where you're going to sit in the schoolroom cafeteria or who your friends are going to be at recess. These are real things. I can remember getting beaten and bloodied by a bully when I was in 5th grade. He was the 6th grade bully of our elementary school. And I had kind of tried to stop him from picking on a kid. And on the way home from school that day, he came out from behind some bushes. And some of you have heard me mention this before. I put up a tremendous battle for about 15 seconds. Then he punched me in the eye, and then I kind of curled up like a baby. But the worst part of that day was not the beating. It was the fact that his 6 friends that were with him and I was alone. And as the fight began, these 6 guys circled around the fight. And I just remember, it was the loneliest feeling of my whole life. It was like, I kept praying, surely a parent of one of my friends is going to drive by it was the main road to our school. Someone's going to stop and see me in trouble. Nobody did. But what Jesus here is talking about is something that's even more radical than that. He's saying, how do you love someone who despises you? How do you love someone who looks down on you as less than human? Because what you've just witnessed in the story of the Good Samaritan is really an impossible task without the love of God. And I love seeing this work in our K-Rock kids. This last Monday night at the Strand Theater, man, it was one of those amazing moments. And I'm going to share that at the end of this message. So I want to tell you the story of the Good Samaritan, okay? Just take a few minutes. And this is the point where you can fill out your stand in the gap if you need to. We're going to receive our offering too at this moment. Let me just kind of get that out of the way because the kids are going to be out to lead us here in just a few minutes to sing us out of this day. And as the ushers get ready, I want to say a lot of you are visiting. This offering is not for you. If you're our guest, just relax, let it go by. If you want to put your purse or wallet in the pouch, you're free to do so. But seriously, what we really would love is for you to feel welcome to come back and feel loved here. Before you begin that, just hold on. Let me just open with prayer. Father, thank you for this beautiful, beautiful group of kids today. We think about this happening all over the city in our campuses. We thank you for the parents and grandparents who've invested so beautifully. And I just pray, Jesus, that today you would give us a new vision on how to live. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Okay, great. So one of the benefits of my life is getting to travel the world. And I remember before I started traveling the world for Kensington and going to places like Egypt in this past January, and the unbelievable people I got to meet there, or Kenya, or our team in Nepal, or India, or Haiti, or Cuba, or Brazil, or the West Bank of Palestine, or Sudan, or Kenya, all of these places. You meet people, and when you meet them the first time, you think, these people are totally different than me. And then you sit down and you begin to talk. And you realize they have the same hopes and dreams, the same fears, same longings for their kids as everybody else. And traveling the world has done something to me. Instead of saying the world is so big and complicated and I am so small, you know what it's done to me? It's made me say this: the world is so small and God is so big. Because the possibilities are endless. And added to that, in the last 27 years of Kensington, something marvelous has happened since we started this church. This region of Oakland County and Macomb and Wayne, and even as we're extending around the state, we realize that not only have we had a chance to go to the world, but the whole world has come here. The whole world has come to us. We have an invitation to experience a richness that we've never known before. You see, if we could learn from Jesus' story, even if you don't believe in Jesus, if you could learn from this story to move out of your fear and hesitation, you would find there's a world of wonder waiting for you. Just where we built this building, we moved to this building 18 years ago. And it's so fun to drive a 5-mile radius of this building and see the restaurants. The food in the last 18 years has gotten so phenomenal. You can eat from everywhere in the world now, and it's delicious. In fact, I've got an Indian friend, a good friend of Neil. I don't know if he's in this service. Usually he comes at the noon service. I was telling him how I love Nihis right down here at Long Lake and Rochester Road. It's Indian vegetarian. It is spectacular, and I was bragging to him about it. And he goes, oh, we would never go there. I'm like, why not? He says, my mother still lives with me. You can't match her cooking. And I thought, that's exactly what someone from Tennessee would have said when I was a boy. Like, you gonna go get Kentucky Fried Chicken? Are you kidding me? My mother makes the best fried chicken you've ever seen. You see what I'm saying? People are the same everywhere. And so Jesus, as he tells this story, invites us to a new way to see the world. This is how it begins. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. For those of you that are new to the New Testament, the expert in the law would have been a Jewish religious leader. And he wasn't asking Jesus because he really wanted to know. He was asking him because he wanted to put him on the spot. Teacher, he said, talking to Jesus, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus replied, what is written in the law? How do you read it? So you don't know what the law is. The law would have been the first 5 books of the Old Testament, what we call the Torah: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. He said, what is written in the law? And the teacher replies, well, of course, every religious Jew would have known this. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. Every world religion that is built off the Judeo-Christian heritage believes this. Love the Lord your God with everything you are and love your neighbor as yourself. But here's where it gets sticky. This religious guy says to Jesus, says, you've answered correctly. And he says, do this and you'll live. But the man wanted to justify himself, and he asked this question. And this question has changed the course of history. Who is my neighbor? Because he's looking for a way out. He's looking for Jesus to narrowly define this term. But then Jesus tells this story that you just witnessed dramatically. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, where he fell into the hands of robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. And a priest happened to be going down the same road. By the way, the priest was played by an incredible actor in the drama, didn't you think? Doing what I do best, nothing. In fact, the line, I had to really work trying to remember my line. It was hard. The priest came, saw the man, but passed by on the other side. He got as far away as he could. So too a Levite, who would have also been a religious worker in the temple, came to the place, saw this man, passed him by on the other side. These guys were people who loved God. You would have expected them to help, but they didn't. Then when you get to the verse 33, but a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn and took care of him. Okay, this is a bonus. You haven't heard this. I was in a foreign country years ago, and a woman came in 9 months pregnant, leading a donkey with a man riding the donkey. And she was in labor. And my dad was actually there with another guy to deliver this baby in the front of a truck. Within 3 hours, she was holding her baby. She grabbed the reins of the donkey, and she and her husband rode off into the night. Someone had asked the man, "Why are you riding the donkey?" He said, "Well, it's my donkey." Isn't that the way we all tend to live? We think it's ours. We think everything we have is for ours to keep and for ours to develop and ours to grow. But Jesus is saying, what if what you have, your energy, your time, your creativity, your resources, your love for people, what if it wasn't for you at all? What if it was for the people of the world? This is what the Samaritan knows. He takes him to an inn and takes care of him. The next day, he takes out 2 silver coins and gives them to the innkeeper. "Look after him, and when I return, I'll reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Listen, this is like finding a person injured on the streets, placing them in a hotel, paying for a couple of weeks of hotel space, paying for a doctor or a clinical nurse to come by and visit, to pay for medicine and for food. This is radical love. And this Samaritan, when he helps this man, knows that this man despises him because he's a Samaritan. A Samaritan was a half Jew. When the northern part of the Israeli kingdom fell, many of those Jews intermarried with people in the surrounding area that were not monotheists, did not believe in the one true God of the Bible, Yahweh. And so in this interbreeding, they lost friendship with the rest of the Jews, and the Jews despised them. This guy is helping someone who he knows hates him. And Jesus finishes this story by saying, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" And this religious expert replies, "The one who had mercy on him." And Jesus tells him, "Go and do likewise." You know what's interesting to me? This religious guy is so upset about this story that he won't even say the word Samaritan. He just says, well, he won't even acknowledge that it's a person who is an outcast from his culture and his society because he doesn't want to love his neighbor. There have been so many times that I didn't want to love my neighbor. I wanted to find an excuse for not loving people. But Jesus is asking us to see the world in a new way. By the way, Jericho is a wild walk. I actually have a picture of even part of the road to Jericho that still exists. Take a look at this. This is no joke. This was 18 miles of winding road where you'd start in Jerusalem at about 1,200 feet. And by the time Jericho, you'd be near sea level. And there would be 1,000 places where you could get ambushed along the way. Actually, people of that day called this the Bloody Pass. And you know what? Samaritans were so hated that Jewish people would actually take a route around the community of the part of Israel where the Samaritans lived. They would walk 12 miles extra just to not have to walk through the city. Let me ask you a question. Has anything changed? Everywhere you go in the world, oh, don't go that way. Don't walk on that street. Don't cross that road. Because we've got to keep these barriers up. But you know what Jesus is saying? He's saying if we would step into these barriers, the world would change. He says, do you realize even your enemies will receive love from you when times are hard? Who's your neighbor? You know what I realize in this story? Love is not emotion. Love is not an intellectual understanding. Love is action. In fact, one of the things that's destroying culture is we are continually beating into each other's heads and into the heads of our children that love is an emotion. It's not. An emotion may be connected or it may not. Love is behavior. Let me give you an example. For 23 years, I've lived across the street from Oakland University. I've watched it grow into this mega university. In fact, in the 23 years I've lived there, this may surprise you, there's been almost $1 billion of development that's happened. That's huge. And over those years, I've watched more and more people come from around the world. Saudi Arabia, India, Africa, China, Korea, the Philippines, Australia, South America, people from all over the world. And you know what? I've had a burden for those people. I thought, how many of them come, go to school, never invited into the home of an American, never get to have that connection. That's why this past Thanksgiving, we had about 150 international students from Oakland University come here and have a Thanksgiving meal with a bunch of people. And a lot of our people are still hanging out with them and meeting with them. But I want to tell you, that didn't happen because of me, because all I had was the emotion. I never did anything about it. I'm gonna come back to that in just a minute. Because here's what I want you to understand. Crossing the road will cost you something every time. This is the principle I want you to think about as you carry this out into your community, your neighborhood, in your city. If you're gonna cross the road, it's gonna cost you. Because you know what happens on this bloody pass road? The priest and the Levite look at this guy and he's beaten and he's struggling, and you know what they think? They ask the question that I am a professional asking. I ask myself the question when I'm driving down the road, when I'm in a neighborhood. I think, if I stop to help, what will happen to me? Even when I see somebody in need, I'm thinking about me. And you guys know this is the Andrews way. I may not be much, but I'm what I think about. The Samaritan man does something completely different. He looks at this man beaten half to death. He may die on the side of the road. He asks a completely different question. He says, if I don't help him, what will happen to him? He's not thinking about himself. He's not thinking about the danger of the Jericho road. You see, Jesus says in Luke 6, he says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? I have my grandchildren in this service. They were just here for the first part of the service. When I love them, that's no credit to me. Jesus said, even sinners, even people that are running from God, love those who love them. If you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. If you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to be repaid in full. But Jesus says, and here it is, guys. This is gonna rock the world. It's still rocking the world today if we'll listen. Jesus says, love your enemies. Love your enemies. Do good to them. By the way, when you begin to read the New Testament, you get to Romans chapter 5. It said, even when we were his enemies, when we were his enemies, Christ died for us. That's where this story is leading. Jesus says, I am gonna die for you, even if you hate me. I'm gonna make this, what appears to be this ridiculous decision to lay down my life. It sends chills up and down my spine just to think about it being true. Jesus says, lend without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great. And you'll be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. You see, up until then, people said God would be kind. Only God's kind to the good and the righteous. You know what Jesus is saying? He says, the God of creation that I have come to reveal to you is kind even to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. You know what I think about my life? I think about all the mistakes I've made. All the times I walked past somebody in need. God still loved me, still cared for me, still came to find me. One last verse. A new command, Jesus says, I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Again, it's a radical statement. God is saying, all you need to do is let my love pour into you. Just receive it, release it. Just receive it and release it. Just take the love of the Father demonstrated through the love of the Son. Receive it as I have loved you. How did Jesus love us? He died on the cross for us. He washed our dirty feet. He washed the dirty feet of the disciples, which in that day would have been a just would have been filth. You're walking in sandals in the streets of that day, all day long. He served us. He gave up himself. The Bible says he made himself nothing for us. Can you imagine how different the world would look even if just those of us here today that are listening, those of you who are watching on live stream, just this small pocket of people, if we left here today and said we are going to make ourselves nothing to love others, and we're going to do it out of the love of God that he has for us. I'm telling you, the world will change. You're not going to solve every problem, but you will start to see the world change. And you know what's so great about the K-Rock experience? Our K-Rock leaders don't see the barriers of geography or ethnicity or of socioeconomic barriers or political conviction. They really see God's love reaching across all of these barriers. This past Monday night, in the 27-year history of the Kensington movement, and this show's happening in a lot of different campuses, Monday night was the best K-Rock moment we've ever had. You know why? Because our Birmingham K-Rock team at our Birmingham campus was performing at the Strand Theater with the Pontiac ITA elementary school kids. They did one rehearsal of this show, and they performed it together. And it was multi-ethnic, it was multilingual, it was multi-talented. Julie Borkin, who's our school partner, she pulled all of these kids together. And Molly Zaleski leads our Birmingham. It was amazing. And Julie Borkin, who leads our school partners, we work in elementary schools and we're trying to serve and bring the love of God. She said to me, she said, Steve, didn't it feel like Jesus came down into this room Monday night? I said, yeah, it really did. Like maybe nothing I've ever experienced in our 27 years. It was fabulous. And these kids were singing and dancing. They only had one or two rehearsals to come together and do this. But if you were going to describe a socioeconomic, cultural, geographical barrier that exists in our world, what would be any more distinctive than Birmingham and Pontiac? And you know what Jesus is saying? He said, I came to make these things one. I came to tear down these barriers. And so as we finish today, and as the kids are getting ready to come back out in just about 1 minute, I thought, what if we committed, each one of us, to break down the walls of difference? Because if we do it, it's going to be uncomfortable. Everyone in the sound of my voice is surrounded by diversity, different language, different educational experience, different shades of skin, different textures of hair or no hair, different beliefs about God, different political convictions. Listen, there are 1,000 reasons not to engage with other people. But what if we said today, we're going to step across the barrier of discomfort? And I want to tell you something Bruce Olson taught me. He was a great missionary to South America, to the Matalone Indians as a young man. He said, when you go to a different culture, he said, you only need to do one thing. Okay, you ready for this? This is worth so much you can leave cash on the stage for me after the service. He says, that's a joke. He said, when you go to another culture, you only have to do one thing. Go as a learner. Simply go, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to do things that are unintentionally offensive to you because I don't understand you, but I'm coming as a learner. And he said, if you go to another culture that speaks a different language, he said, the first phrase that you want to learn in their language is this: I'm a child, will you teach me? I'm a child, will you teach me? Will you explain to me what your world is like? He said, you do this, the world begins to open up. This is what Jesus is saying here. He's saying, the Samaritan was the true neighbor because he crosses the road. He crosses the barrier. And we have so much to learn, and there's so much richness to mine. I cannot tell you the fun stories that I've experienced in crossing the barrier of discomfort. Number two, if you're part of Kensington, we see people at all 8 of our campuses, every service, who are different than us. Would you like to make Jesus beautiful? Yeah. Okay, I got one. Hallelujah. Then go out of your way to speak to people every time you're here. And don't just say, how are you doing? But maybe even have a real conversation. Now, I know I'm different because our team and our staff team, but I am amazed at the conversations that I had. I had a conversation with Anil Netta originally from Mumbai. We were sitting out at the coffee shop Sunday after one of the services. We had a 30-minute I learned so much about India in 30 minutes. It was amazing. If we just take the moment and see the beauty that God has built into people. Man, it's awesome. So, finally for Kensington, as a movement of Kensington, we have spent great amounts of money, of time and strategy to take God's love to the world, to build relationships with people in so many parts of the world. But what I love now is now we have a chance because the whole world has come to us. And we need to figure out how we're going to bring Jesus across barriers here in Metro Detroit. What? Make ourselves nothing, become children, give ourselves away. Learn. Such an exciting time to be alive. But if Jesus is alive from the grave, if he lives in people by his Holy Spirit, then we have his power working in us. He sets us free to turn from a life of self-protection and fear to extend ourselves sacrificially to others. Is there anything in the world could benefit more than that? And what I love is the K-Rock kids are teaching us that. So I'm going to pray, and they're going to try to sneak out here. It hasn't worked out so well. But they're going to come out, and they're going to lead us, and they're going to really give us the answer. They're going to give us the key of how to live in this way that Jesus invites us to live. So let me pray, and they're going to come out. Father, thank you. Oh God, our Father, thank you that you sent Jesus, your son, to bring us back to your heart, to show us a new way of living. And would you build into the hearts of these kids this ability to love. I don't hear anything. But to hit this ability to love, and might we learn from each other, and might we have the courage to love without expecting in return. And might we see a change in the world, a change in our neighborhood, a change on our street or our school as a result. We thank you. Thank you for these students and these leaders in Jesus' name. Amen. Awesome. Fantastic. So come here, come closer. So Adele and Ruth are just two of hundreds of kids are doing this all over the region. And the K-Rock leader said, during the course of the semester, think about how you can strategically be the Good Samaritan. Like, how can you really love your neighbor, see people along the way? And these kids have been telling these stories, and a lot of you that are parents and grandparents are hearing this. Some of them maybe haven't stepped out to do it, but all of these men and women, young men and women, are starting to think about how they could demonstrate God's love. Here are two examples. Dale, tell us what you did.
My Good Samaritan story is one day after school, I came home and I was bored, and I remembered that whenever I passed by a homeless person on the street, I felt bad because I didn't have any food or money for them, and they didn't have a home. So I got some of my money that I had, and I got some worn out gloves and hats and some food, and put them in a bag, and I put them in a car, and whenever we drove by a homeless person, I would give it to them. And I usually never saw homeless people on the street, but one day I did, and I gave the bag to them, and after that I felt really blessed.
Yeah. So it was intentional. Yeah. She planned ahead. She thought intentionally. She kept her eyes open. Fixed my eyes on Jesus. Fixed my eyes on what God is bringing across my path. It's a great illustration. Okay, Ruth.
There was this boy, Roberto, and he was new from Mexico. And all my friends were playing tag at recess, and he was lonely. And so we went over and asked him to play tag with us. And now me and him are friends, and we play together a lot.
I love it. It's beautiful. So that's repeated hundreds of times over. And so as we're finishing today, these guys have learned, it's an unusual way that for a K-Rock show to end, but really it's a hymn that really touched my life when I was a kid. We sang this when I was a kid, and many of you, it's gonna be familiar. You're gonna wanna sing along for some, but it really is the answer. It's an old version of Fix My Eyes on You. And didn't you love that song? You can go back on our Kensington app by probably tomorrow, and that'll be posted. You can listen to this music again and share it. Don't you think those are the words that need to be going through our mind as we move into Monday, as we step back into our places of influence? But before they sing, we had some of our K-Rock kids from some of our campuses and schools lead us in prayer. So enjoy this.
Dear Lord, please help us to see that we can be good Samaritans, and we can help other people the way that Jesus helped all of us by taking away our sins, and help us to not be afraid to do whatever we need to do today and give someone a compliment or that give someone some encouragement, and just please help us to not be afraid and to know that you are the light of our lives. Dear God, please help us love others the way that we love you, God, and the way that you love us. I hope that everybody that we don't really know or like will become better friends with us, and we can all get along someday.
Dear Lord, I hope that the Good Samaritans show love, and when they're getting robbed, that we help them.
I pray that everybody would learn about Jesus, and we would help our enemies instead of hating our enemies, and loving other people and learning about Jesus' story. Amen. Let us help others when we don't usually help, and be kind to everybody and love others. Amen.
Jesus, you are a good Samaritan. You did all you could for us. Even when people were your enemies, you still said forgive them no matter what.
Let us be good Samaritans, and let us help others. Like if somebody's being bullied, you could walk it out, and
And that's the homeless people that don't have homes. Let them feel happy and hope they're doing well. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. In the light of His glory and grace.
Awesome. Lord, thank you for not leaving us on the side of the road. Thank you that of all people, you came to deliver us out of our heartache and our hurt. There are many people here today that are listening that are really wounded and sad. Your love reaches to the farthest places. So help us to see you and see your face of love. Help us be your face of love. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen. Hey guys, there's gonna be a K-Rock, 2 K-Rock summer camps this summer, where if you've got children or grandchildren or friends' kids that would love to be a part of something that is just miraculous, that opportunity is gonna be there. There are little flyers in the lobby. Also, if you're new, you wanna connect at Starting Point. Otherwise, just enjoy the people around you. There's a place where you could connect in prayer today in the lobby. There also will probably be a few people down front. If you would just love for someone to pray over you. And then next week, Mother's Day, bring your moms, come back. We got another great service with a lot of fun and beautiful things to connect in. You're gonna love it. We'll see you there, okay? Thank you so much. Give these kids one more applause.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures,